Hey, boys and girls, back for another exciting episode. I'm going to walk you through basically how we get to over here. Because really, we've been doing like 85 divided by 3, and we've done 8 divided by 3 before. Today, we're just going to kind of take that next step over here. Really, it's the same process over and over and over again. There's just something kind of slightly different here. Again, our first step is still always D. How many times can 3 fit into 8? And if I have 8 of something, how many teams or how many groups of 3 can I make? Okay, you can make 2 whole groups. So that's the number that goes up top. Okay, so that goes up top. Right? That's where our actual division goes. That's our answer or our quotient. 8 divided by 3 is 2. I can do 2 whole groups of 3. Underneath is where I put how much of the 8 did we already use. We had 3 kids on 2 teams. 2 times 3, that's the M. 2 times 3 is 6. That goes underneath. Okay, and then my next step is I then S subtract 8 minus 6. So there were 8 kids. We made 2 teams. 2 times 3, we'd use 6 of the 8 kids. That means there was 2 kids left over. I don't know why it doesn't stay with the big one. And then I just realized this one up here should have been green. And every time I switch, I gotta go back to that. Okay, and then that would be it. There's nothing else to bring down here. There's no red to bring down. Normally we would bring down the next piece. There isn't one. So this then becomes my remainder. So we did 2 groups with 2 kids left over. Okay, that's going to be important though for the next one. And I'll pause it and I'll get that all set up to show you. Okay, so in the middle with 85 divided by 3, it's basically going to be the same exact first, 3 steps. Okay, I'll just pick a random color that doesn't match with those ones and just use it the whole time instead of switching back and forth. And I'll show you that connection. Again, really, if you can, you basically pretend like the 5 isn't even there yet because we're not using the 5 yet. It's just still 8 divided by 3 if we can do that. In this case, we can. D, how many times can 8 fit in, or how many times can 3 fit into 8, or 8 divided by 3 is still 2. That means teams or groups. How much of the 8 kids did we use? 2 times 3, that's 6. Same number over here that goes under. How many of the 8 kids didn't get put on a team yet or didn't we use yet? That's 2. That's the exact same steps from over here. Now I'll switch to red because we're doing the next part. Again, if you notice again, this and this are exactly the same. Okay, sometimes kids see that again the 85 and they get worried that it's really hard and they don't know how to do it. Just start with 8 divided by 3. Right, that's that same first step. Okay, you gotta fix the 85. All right, now again, here's where something is different. Okay, now again, I basically did 8 divided by 3. It's the same, 2 remainder 2, except this time our 2 becomes 20 something because it's our leftover piece. We bring down our next number, which in this case is 5. So that's something now different. And then this is usually where kids get stuck. Now our next step is R for repeat. How many times can 3 fit into our new number of 25? The 2 is from the subtraction, and the 5 is from the bring down. Okay, now I'm starting kind of a new number over, and I'm kind of thinking about my 3 chart. I know I have like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. I think I can get closer than that. I keep trying to get to 25, 24, pretty close. Let's see what the next one is. 27. That's too big. So I'm trying to figure out kind of how close can I get with 3 to 25. The closest I could get was 24. And 24 was the closest I can get. That's not the number I'm going to use yet. That's going to be in purple in a minute. First, I had to do how many groups or how many teams was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the number that goes up top for the answer. I was able to make 28 groups. Now, this is not a waste of time because I'm going to use this in a second. And I think in my chart, hopefully I had the correct one that Mrs. White did the other day. I'm pretty sure that was purple, but that's where that 24 goes. There was 24 kids, and I just used 24 of them. And then how many were left over? In this case, it's 1. So I basically just did the same exact steps again. After R, I did D. 25 divided by 3 was 8. 8 times 3 was 24. That's right here. That's the multiply. S, 25 minus 24 is 1. I go to bring down again. There's nothing left to bring down. So again, when there's nothing left to bring down, it's going to drive me crazy. Okay? That becomes my remainder. And I have a remainder of 1. Okay, and I'm going to pause it. I'm going to have to write this a little smaller. I'm going to have to clear some space. I'm going to show you basically 852 divided by 3 is the same exact beginning, just a couple extra parts at the end. So now I'm going to try to go kind of one color per grouping. All right, so I'll see if I can bring this back over here. There's my M. There's my D, S, B, and R. Oh, don't want all of that, just the R. And my R. Okay, so I'll start with just red. I'll go through basically this over here in red. It's going to be the same exact problem. Just going to start with just 8 divided by 3. 8 divided by 3 is still 2. That's how many teams of kids I can make with 8 kids, or how many groups. 2 times 3, I used 6 of them already. I went a little higher to try to save space. I subtract, there's 2 left. And then I bring down to 25. That was my steps. D was 8 divided by 3 is 2 up top. M, 2 times 3 was 6. That's right there. S, how many kids are still left, or how many didn't we use yet? 8 minus 6 was 2. And then B for bring down. And now I'm on this step, which I'm going to do in blue, my repeat. And I'm going to see how many times can 3 fit into 25. It's basically what I did right here. Again, I already figured it out. Right, I already figured out that 3 goes into 25 8 times. That has not changed. I already figured out that 8 times 3 was 24. And I already figured out there'd be 1 kid left over. Before that became my remainder because there was nothing left to bring down. Now there is another number to bring down. It's the 2 I haven't used yet. Now I have 12. Okay, so again, with blue, I then went through and I did my D, my M, my S, my B, and then I'm going to start my R. I'll do this one in green. Now I'm going to repeat again. It's just the same thing. But you notice again, first we just did 8 divided by 3. Then we just finished basically what was 85 divided by 3, and we stopped right there. There's just another set is all that happens when you go to 852. Then I again say, well, how many times can 3 fit into 12? Right? If there are 12 kids, I can make, and I can go look at my chart that I still have. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. That got me exactly to it. The answer isn't 12. The answer is how many groups? And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is my answer up top. How many of the 12 kids did I use? according to my chart, all 12. So how many kids didn't get put on a team? 0. Okay, so my answer is 284. I can always check that to see how I did. That should get me right back where I started. I'll pick a different color. Go back to red. 4 times 3, there's my 12. That's the one that's right here. 3 times 8 is 24. Plus the one that I carried is 25. And then 3 times 2, there's my 6. Plus the 2 that I carried, there's my 8. Got me right back where I started. Okay? And that can be a little bit complicated, but you just have to go through it step by step and piece by piece. Right? And we'll work more on, I'll give you kind of one more example with a 3-digit one. Okay, so I'll do one more example. Again, I'm just going to do the whole thing through 845 divided by 5. Remember, my steps are divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and repeat. That's true for all division. Sometimes, again, we don't have the B or the R, and that's okay, but we're always going to divide. I ask myself, again, the essential question, how many groups or how many teams can I make? That's basically D. M, how many did I already use? Again, I tend to think of kids in gym class. And then S, subtract, how many kids are left? That's the 3 main math pieces. Divide, multiply, subtract. How many groups or how many teams can I make? How many did I already use? How many are left over? So I'll rewrite this under here. Let me see if I can push this up a little bit, create some more space. Okay, I have 845 divided by 5. Again, I know this looks like a lot, can be a little overwhelming. Just wanted to move the division bar. Again, don't worry about the big, gigantic number. Try to do it one part at a time. It's just 8 divided by 5. That's where you're going to start. Don't even worry about the 45, or that's 800. Just think about 8 divided by 5. There are 8 kids, and you want to make teams of 5. Yeah, I'm thinking about my 5 chart. I picked 5 because I know it's kind of an easier number to be able. I want that go to the bigger one. We have like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. I should never have to go kind of higher than that. And again, I'm just thinking first just about the 8. 8 would be somewhere right in here. So I can't quite do 2 groups. I don't have enough. That's 10. I only have enough for 1 group. And there's 1 team with 5 kids on it. That's my D. M, how many of the 8 kids did I use? 1 times 5 is 5. That goes underneath. And then S, there were 8 kids. I used 5. How many are left? 8 minus 5 is 3. Okay, that's kind of my first step, or my first part. Then bring down, I'm going to do in a different color. 3 that's left over becomes 30-something. And then I bring down the 4. Then I'm trying to ask myself, how many times can 5 fit into 34? Again, my little chart down here is going to be helpful. Okay, again, 20, I can make more, 25, 30, I can make 35 close, but a little too big. I'm right in here. So this is the number that I'm going to use. Like here, this was the number I used, and it was 1 group, one up top. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. So 6 goes up top. This number I'm going to use next. There were 34 kids. I made 6 teams of 5. That means I used 30 of the 34. That's, again, I did my D again. That was 5 goes into 34 6 times. Or 34 divided by 5 is 6. That was D. M, was 6 times 5 is 30. And then S is going to be 34 minus 30. There were 34 kids. 30 got put on a team. That means there's 4 left. You can see why they call this long division. It takes a long time. It becomes a big, long problem. Good. So I just did D, I did M, I did S. I have B again. There is another number to bring down. So I go and I check, right? I used the 8 already. I used the 4 already. I have not used the 5 yet. If this was 84 divided by 5, my answer would have been 16, remainder 4. Since it's 845, I have to keep going until I run out of numbers to bring down. And it's just really the same step again. That was B. Then I'm going to repeat now with green. How many times can 5 go into 45? Again, good thing some genius made this chart down here for me to look at. What a smart move. Okay? That's Aubrey laughing over there. Don't mind her. All right? So I already have all my math out here that I needed. Right? This was helpful. This is helpful. If you have to make a little quick chart for yourself, you can. And the closest I can get to 45 is 45. Can't get any closer than that. The key thing is how many groups is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Groups is really my D. That's what goes on top. Again, I'm just doing these same steps a third time. It's not something completely, totally different. I did D in red, then I did M, then I did S, then I switched to blue. Then I did D, I did M, I did S, I switched to green. Now I'm going to do D, I'm going to do M. Again, that was 9 groups we just counted. That was D. M is this times this. 9 times 5. That's what I have circled. I used all 45 of them. And that's my M. S is just subtract. 0. There's nothing left over. There's nothing left to bring down. Let's say there was a 2 here, right? Or a 7 or whatever. I'd bring it down and that would be 0, 7. There's not. There's no remainder. Then I can always check that. 169 times 5. Should get the same number backwards. I'll do blue this time for my check. Again, you should get a lot of the same numbers from over here. 9 times 5 is 45. Right? Same number from down here. 5 times 6 is 30. There's my 30. Plus 4 gets me back to my 34. So again, these numbers aren't kind of some random thing I'm making up or some kind of crazy math magic I'm doing. Right? I can show you where every single one of those numbers comes from. And then 5 times 1 is 5, is one of those right there. Plus 3 gets me back to the original 8. Okay, that's how I know for sure that that is correct. I know it's going to be kind of a tricky step. There's only like 5 or 6 problems today. There's no remainders on the end. There are leftover pieces. So I really want you to take your time and do a good job on those 5 or 6 problems. And just go through it over and over again. How many groups can I make? D. How many did I already use? That's M. How many are left over? S. Then bring down when you can and then repeat. Okay, and then the next part, again, now it's 34. How many times can 5 go into 34? 6 times, that's D. How many did I use? 6 times 5, that's 30, that's M. How many were left over? 4 minus 0 is 4. That's S. Bring down the 5 and start over. 5 goes into 45 9 times, that's D. Right? 9 times 5 is 45, that's M again. Subtract 45 minus 45 is 0. No, if this was anything but a 0, it would be our remainder. It's not. There's no remainder. And then we move on. All right?